In this video, I'm going to talk about time blocking. So what exactly is time blocking as far as I understand it? Well, it's using an online calendar, that's what I do anyway, because you can adjust it to actually create blocks of time for your various different things that you're going to be doing throughout a week. And the way that I think it's particularly useful is because as a freelancer, as a voiceover artist, but as any freelancers will find as well, it can be very tricky, very scary facing an entire amorphous week ahead. Obviously, if you've got bits of work already sorted out, that's fantastic in terms of being able to give you a certain level of structure. But especially when you're starting out, and even when you're not, when you don't have huge chunks of work that structure your time automatically, you need to be able to be diligent enough to know how to shape your time, how to take what is your to-do list and how to then kind of make sense of that in terms of what you're actually going to be doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I find that time blocking, it can be really useful for me for a number of different reasons. So just to kind of like, first of all, deal with the specifics. I use Google Calendar for this because, again, it's connected to all of my devices. So if I update it on my phone or my iPad, it goes straight to my desktop as well, and vice versa. If there are any notifications or anything else like that, again, it's all kind of like linked in. So I know where I'm standing at one kind of time. I'm never having to update 2 or 3 things simultaneously. And ultimately, we're trying to get things as simple as possible. I think the crucial things for time blocking I'm going to go through are, firstly, one, to deal in terms of prioritization. So we can all have our different to-do lists, which are always very exciting. But first of all, we've really got to kind of deal in terms of the priority. And what time blocking allows you to do, certainly on a digital format, but you could do this by hand with different colors as well, is that you can start to build your week with the things that really need to get done first and foremost in terms of priority. So you can estimate, is this thing going to take 2 hours? Is it going to take 10 hours? And then you can divide it into chunks across various different days. And you can color them accordingly. So if you look at my time blocking calendar as such, you'll see that different colors will correspond to different levels of priority, with naturally the reds being things that definitely need to get done. The second thing to bear in mind with time blocking is that although you've got prioritization in that, so it is kind of specific and you can be limited, I do include a bit of a buffer at the end of each day. And this is because time blocking is not meant to be, this is exactly what you're going to be doing all the way through the day to that exact time. What it is, it's a guide, it's a structure, and that's very important because we need this level of structure, but also there's a degree of flexibility. So when you're starting out with time blocking, if you want to experiment with it, I would recommend just even starting it for one day. Just try it for one day of your week as opposed to trying to apply it to an entire day and seeing how it goes. And the idea being is that as things change, if a task takes 20 minutes shorter than it should, or it takes an hour longer than it should, then you can, if it's a digital version that you're working with, you can extend that time or, shrink that time accordingly. And you can see how long things will actually take as opposed to what you imagine them taking, because there's obviously usually quite a big difference between what we hope something will take to do and how long it will actually take as well. And I include a bit of buffer time at the end of every day. I usually schedule up to 5 p.m. And I work 9 till 6. So I always have that buffer time at between 5 and 6 where, if something is overrunning, I can switch something in or out, utilize that as I see fit, so I don't feel as if I'm falling behind. However, again, the whole idea is that it's a rough idea. So if something does carry over from like Tuesday through to Wednesday, then I can incorporate it and I can rearrange the rest of the week to adjust for that. And again, using the priority colors as a guide, that means that as soon as I sit down in the morning every day, I know exactly what it is that I should be doing and in what priority that it should be as well. Another thing to be aware of with time blocking is the time of the day should correspond with where your energy levels are at for particular work. So I know that Generally speaking, I'm better in terms of recording, not very first thing in the morning, but from around mid-morning up until midday. So if I'm doing self-directed recording, I will usually try to schedule it in then. In terms of doing market research or lead generation or that kind of thing, usually I shift that towards either very first thing in the morning or right at the end. So again, it's understanding how you're working and then being able to shape those things. But I've mentioned before Cal Newport's work called Deep Work, about the value of having extended periods of time where you can really get into a habit and kind of deep dive into the work so that you can get into a flow state. And I think, again, bearing that in mind, so that rather than lots of flitting bits and pieces, you've got those extended chunks to really take on a task is really valuable. And again, something that you can apply with this approach. The last thing I'll say is that it's really useful to set out your agenda either at the beginning of a week or at the very end of the week for the next week, so that rather than having that anxiety on a Sunday evening about, oh God, I've got to get back to work and what have I got to do, and all of those things kind of floating in your mind, if I can take a Friday afternoon, or at the worst case scenario, a Friday evening or a Sunday afternoon, to just spend an hour to block my time, again, roughly and approximately, for that kind of coming week, then I've actually got Monday through to Friday pretty much fleshed out for me. Now, obviously, again, as a voiceover artist, I will often be required to record at short notice for projects I have no knowledge about right now. And again, this just kind of happens. And this is where you kind of have to accept that the whole idea of the time block is as a guide and nothing more. You don't need to be specific to it. But what I think is useful is the very first time you try it for a week is if you adjust the time blocks as you go on so that they actually reflect what happened in your typical week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then you see what the week in reality was like as opposed to the week when you originally planned it was like. Then you can use that, you can keep that in mind in terms of your template moving forward. So you can go, okay, well, I know that I can't foresee when some of these additional recording times might be kind of coming in, but I'm going to overestimate the time that I'm going to give to X, Y, or Z because I'm sure some recordings will be coming in. So again, you're kind of being more honest about how long this will actually take you, and also you can then be a bit more realistic about what in your to-do list you can actually do, rather than being confronted with your entire to-do list and going, well, I need to get all of that done in this week or on that day. You can be a bit more rational and start to have a bit more of a sense that, okay, this list is so long, I know what I have to address in terms of priority, but these other things I will have to defer until next week or next month or even next quarter. So you prioritize the priority first and foremost, and bizarrely, it means that you feel a little less guilty when you've done literally all that you can do and you're not trying to do everything all of the time. Thanks as ever so much for watching. Please do like, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and wishing you a great and productive week.